The debate about Ethiopia's education crisis should move beyond exam results. The poor performance in the matriculation exam is not the problem itself, it is a symptom of deeper structural issues. Education should prepare young people to become productive citizens, contribute to their communities, and reach their full potential. Yet we must ask, if 50 or 60% of students pass the matric exam tomorrow, do we have enough universities, colleges, and vocational institutions to serve them? The real challenge is aligning our education system with national needs. We need a curriculum that is locally relevant, skills-based, and connected to community development. Project-based learning, practical problem-solving, and continuous assessment can help students move beyond memorization toward meaningful learning. This is not about blaming teachers, parents, students, or policymakers. Everyone has worked within the system they inherited.
And curriculum of Ethiopian education. There's a mismatch, he says, between what's being taught and what students and society actually need for success. So what does the paper suggest as a path forward? Well, Dr. Ngozi notes that many developed nations are moving away from heavy reliance on high-stakes tests. Instead, they're using things like project-based learning, where students gain skills by working on real, meaningful problems over time. And the argument here is that Ethiopia might do well to explore these more holistic approaches, not just for the sake of change, but to create, citizens who can engage economically, socially, and politically. One example Dr. Ngozi draws on is the idea of comprehensive high schools, schools that don't just prepare students for university, but also offer vocational programs, foreign languages, and sciences. The curriculum isn't just about facts and figures. It's about applying knowledge, developing practical skills, fostering creativity, and learning in ways that really stick. Honestly, this kind of holistic learning sounds pretty compelling, right? But don't take my word for it. I'm just presenting the arguments. And here's where things get, extra interesting. Dr. Ngozi raises a really practical point. What happens when only a small percentage of students actually pass the matric exam? He points out that universities and colleges in Ethiopia simply do not have enough places, even if everyone did brilliantly. So the structure of the exam kind of sets up a weird paradox where tons of capable students are left out. And what about those who don't pass? Is there an alternate path, like vocational training, that actually helps them thrive? It's a question that honestly listeners everywhere can relate to, even if you're not in Ethiopia, because the whole system versus individual mismatch happens in a lot of places. The paper ultimately recommends that Ethiopia adopts local, project-driven curricula rooted in local context and resources. For instance, students could tackle real challenges right in their own communities, making their learning relevant and a lot more engaging. And to keep classrooms accountable, Dr. Ngozi suggests the use of the logic model, basically regular evaluations of what's working and what's not. Without evaluation, any curriculum, no matter how innovative, can fizzle out. I mean, it's a good
The paper we're into today is Educational Questions in Ethiopia Require Answers, and it's by Dr. Arega W. Ngozi.
Yeah, and what a title, right? It sort of sets the tone, like, these aren't just abstract academic questions. There are real needs, urgent ones, in Ethiopian education.
Absolutely. At its core, the paper asks, why does Ethiopia keep struggling with educational crises, especially at the school level, despite so many reforms? And whose fault is it? Or maybe, is it actually anyone's fault at all? That's kind of key, right?
Yeah, and Dr. Arega doesn't point fingers at individuals. He's saying, look, the system's got deep-rooted issues. He traces it all the way back to the 1970s to failed reforms, but he really digs into this idea that the crisis is structural.
Right. And more than that, he points out how the curriculum itself has always been pretty, well, dominated by foreign influences. Ethiopia, he argues, never really had the chance to roll out an indigenous, homegrown curriculum that fits the country's unique context.
And that's huge, because, as he says, the lack of a locally rooted curriculum creates all these ripple effects. Poor standardized test results, like on the matriculation exam, aren't just about preparation, they're symptoms of deeper issues.
And speaking of exams, one of his big points is about these high-stakes tests, matric exams for college entry, for example. He's not saying exams like these are inherently bad or outdated, but in Ethiopia's current system, they've lost moral purpose and connection to what education is supposed to do.
That's something I found interesting. If passing gets you into university, but only 15% of the students can actually be accommodated, what about the rest? The exam's supposed to be about opportunity, but for 85% of students, it's actually just a dead end.
Yeah, and he raises the question, okay, so what if suddenly half or more pass? Is the system ready to support them? And if not, what happens to those who can't get in? Is there a fallback or some program to help them transition to the workforce? Right now, apparently, there really isn't.
True. He talks about how the goals of Ethiopian education, those big, kind of lofty ones about preparing people to be engaged and effective citizens, they just don't line up with what's actually happening on the ground.
It's not just Ethiopia, though. He looks at what works elsewhere, like comprehensive high schools with project-based learning, or PBL. The whole idea that students learn by working on real-life projects, drawing on local resources, tackling actual community problems.
Right, and that means less rote memorization, more hands-on stuff. The kind of education that's rooted in local culture and challenges, which boosts not just academic skills, but social and economic development too.
It almost reminds me of, I don't know, summer camp? I had this weird one once where we had to build a bridge over a creek in the rain with like 2 shovels and a lot of arguing. We learned more about teamwork and stubborn mud than anything else, but honestly, that stuck with me way longer than any test ever did.
Maybe mud-based assessment is the future of Ethiopian education. But seriously, Dr. Arega says any project-based approach has to include proper evaluation. He recommends logic models to check progress from the start, so you're not just hoping things work out.
And he's very clear, this isn't about blaming teachers or parents. They've all done the best they could given a tough situation and outside influences.
Exactly. The big takeaway here is fixing education is about changing the structure and making the curriculum local and practical, not just tweaking around the edges.
And honestly, maybe that's a good thing for all of us to remember. Education policy is always evolving. It's not about final answers, but better questions and better approaches.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us, whether you listened in or watched the video. We want you in the conversation. Leave a comment or question, subscribe or follow, and share your ideas or stories for future episodes. You can also reach us on social media or email, insert contact. If you liked this episode, please rate and share it. It helps others find the show. We'll read listener feedback so don't be shy. I am Dr. Arega Negusi. Thanks again for watching and listening. See you next.